Welcome everyone to Biblio Files, a program from the Ann Arbor District Library where we answer one book-related question in about 5 minutes or so. This time I'm joined by Amanda and Lucy and our special guest Marianne, and our question this week is, what's one of your favorite cookbooks? Marianne, do you have a favorite?
I do, Christopher. So I chose for my favorite cookbook, One Pan and Done. And I used this last fall and winter, and I just found that I kept going back to it. It's by Molly Gilbert. And the reason I kept cooking from it was because I found that the recipes, they were simple, but they were also very tasty. She uses a lot of different ingredients and combines them in ways that, even though they're simple, they're not quick. You still need time to cook, but the ingredients are ones that generally I had around the house or were easy to find. So, and this big selling point is it's one pan and done. Mm-hmm. So there's very little cleanup, which is nice. And the other thing I love about this cookbook, she has lots of pictures. And I've always loved pictures in my cookbooks. So that's pretty much it. The selling point, like I said, is the ingredients are easily acceptable or accessible, and that there's minimal cleanup. So
do you have a favorite from that?
I would have to say that there's one, it's a saffron chicken, and it has prunes and olives. So like I said, sometimes the way she combines her ingredients, she uses herbs or spices that just really bring out some really tasty, delicious flavors. And a lot of the cooking, it starts on the stovetop and continues in the oven. So it gives a time for everything to sort of come together, and a lot of the recipes really are very robust with a lot of flavor. I made something the other day. It's called a baked oatmeal, and I was really surprised because there's actually, you combine milk and eggs and butter and maple syrup and pour it over the oatmeal and cinnamon and bake it. And I've just been eating them all week. Like I just put them all in my fridge and I pop them in the microwave and warm them up, and they're just really tasty. So, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
One pan and done. Great. And it's from the library too.
Yeah, I just wrote that down for a question.
Lucy, do you have one?
Oh, sure. Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. So my favorite cookbook is this book here. It's called Home Cooking by Lori Colwin, and it was written in 1988. And I discovered this book when I was living in New York on my own right out of college. And I was kind of lonely. And the thing that I love about this book, and then there's a second one, more home cooking, but they are all, Lori Colwin was a food writer for Gourmet, and she was a novelist and a short story writer. And so there are recipes in this book, but there are essays that go with each recipe. And she kind of is explaining how she got to that recipe or the people around it. And her short stories and her novels were kind of filled with the people you might find around her dinner table. So her cookbooks kind of felt like a friend to me, you know. Plus they had these great recipes, and then it led me to her novels and her short stories. And those books now, they feel a little dated. They're not, but there's still something about them that just is very comforting to me. So that's Home Cooking and More Home Cooking by Lori Colwin. And they're just like really good reads from cover to cover. And if it's okay, I want to read. So I was flipping through them. They're so old. I found this quote that I'd written down on a piece of paper sometime. I don't know when. It's quick-ish, but she says, cookbooks hit you where you live. You want comfort, you want security, you want food, you want not to be hungry. And not only do you want those basic things fixed, you want it done in a really nice, gentle way that makes you feel loved. That's a big desire, and cookbooks say to the person who's reading them, if you will read me, you will be able to do this for yourself and others. You will make everyone feel better. There are many cookbooks by my bedside with all the little pages turned down. If somebody pressed me to the wall and asked me to justify myself, I would have to say that it is very true that there is nothing like a cookbook to explain to you how we used to live. If you want to know what real life used to be like, meaning domestic life, there isn't anywhere you can go that gives you a better idea than a cookbook. And for those of you who are suffering from sadness or hangover or feeling blue or tired of life, if you're not going to read Persuasion, you may as well read Italian Food by Elizabeth David. So I know it's like longer to read a quote, but that just so encapsulated to me like what cookbooks can be beyond just a book full of recipes. So I wanted to share that by Lori Coleman. So Christopher, what did you pick?
Well, I hate to be so predictable and traditional, but I'm going back to 1977, Moosewood Cookbook. And I didn't discover this when probably a lot of other people did. So I discovered it when I was in grad school. And as I was going through it, getting ready for the show, I found so many great recipes, and it brought back so many great memories of cooking. The recipes are all vegetarian. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily that healthy. They are heavy on dairy, a lot of them, especially if you look at a recipe like Rare Bit, which is a cheese and beer soup. So it is delicious, but it's not necessarily the healthiest cookbook that I've ever seen. And it's written by Molly Katzen. She self-published it in 1974, and then it was popularly published by 10 Speed Press in 77. So there are a lot of great recipes in there, and you can see the cover has come off, and it's gotten a lot of use through the years. I haven't cooked with it a lot lately. Surprisingly, I haven't done a lot of cooking under COVID, but now I've got a good excuse to go back to it. So, Amanda, what cookbook do you have for us?
So this was a very easy one. I have a super favorite I love. It's a cook named Richa Hingle, and her book is Vegan Richa's Everyday Kitchen. I'm a vegan, so I cook a lot of vegan and delicious vegetarian, vegetable forward. She also has another cookbook that I own called Vegan Richa's Indian Kitchen. She has a third book that is focused on the Instapot, and I don't own one, so I haven't even explored that. I love her recipes because they're simple, but they're also rich with flavor. And when I say simple, I mean that there are a lot of ingredients you already have. You don't have to go and buy special spices. So even though you're cooking these rich curries and delicious flavorful things, you don't need to go and get 4 things that you don't have in your kitchen. She's also very generous with doing substitutions. She has a lot of things like massaman curries, kung pao, tofu, but Everyday Kitchen also has a lot of things, like there's chocolate chip cookies in the back, there's other kinds of desserts, there are pizzas, macaroni and cheese, things like that, all vegan, all very veg forward. And she uses real ingredients. She's not into using a lot of mock things and fake things. I mean, there are like non-dairy milks and things like that, but she's very simple with like a grain and a protein and making the delicious sauce. One of her main things is her sauces, and she has a quote that I have. The most important element to a great dish is the sauce. To her, the sauce is the driving force. So a lot of her recipes will have the sauce on one page and the main recipe on another. And when she makes them herself, she likes to make the sauces the day before. I've never done that. And sauces really are like the main thing, which I just think is wonderful. And she has a really good food blog. That's how she started before she did her cookbooks. a great food blog. She has a great Instagram. Every photo she posts on her blog or on Twitter or on Instagram, every photo she posts, it looks delicious. And I just screenshot like crazy because I want to make all the recipes that she's posting because they all look so good. I haven't made a bad one yet. I make a ton of her stuff. This is when people say, oh, what can I cook that's vegan? I need some new vegetarian stuff. I always send people to her site and mention these books because they're just wonderful. I just think she does a great job. So yeah, Vegan Rich's Everyday Kitchen. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I love the diversity in all of our choices too. We've got vegan, we've got home cooked, we've got like healthy stuff, we've got naughty stuff.
I think we're all going to have to go eat. We're all getting hungry by now, I'm sure. At least I am. Well, I want to thank Amanda, Lucy, and our special guest, Marianne, today. And we would love to know what your favorite cookbook is. You can go to the AADL link that's in the text below. And up next week, we have the question, what book did you start reading many times before it finally stuck? So we'll see you next week. Take care.